Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. Um, I am Teresa Kearney. I'm the Vice President of Sales with Panacea Payroll, and we are a payroll company who is solely focused on the cannabis, hemp, and CBD industries. We have been in the payroll business for over 30 years. We have been in the cannabis payroll business for coming up on 5 years now. Oddly enough, that makes us kind of experts in the field. We're sort of some of the old timers in this industry because there are so few people doing what we do with any type of experience in this industry. So we're going to get started. I want to talk to you today about giving payroll, HR, and timekeeping some serious consideration as you're setting up your cannabis or CBD business. I'm going to share my screen with you. Oh, that didn't work. Let's try this again. One second. I'm good at payroll, not so great at tech stuff. Okay, I think that's better. So again, I'm with Panacea Payroll, and I'm here to teach you a number of things today about the things that you need to be focused on and concerned with in your cannabis business in terms of paying your employees and staying compliant. Now, part of this is about keeping your employees happy, and a big part of this is about protecting yourself. As the business owner, you need to protect yourself and make sure that you are compliant. You don't ever give your employees any reason to go to labor and industry and complain, just to make sure everything is good with your business. So when you decide to start hiring employees, or if you already have employees, one of the things you really want to think about is a lot of people say, well, I've been doing payroll for, say, my restaurant. I have had other businesses. I used to be a landscaper, whatever. I did payroll for that. I can do payroll for this. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is doing it themselves. There are a number of things in your business as the business owner that you can and should do yourself, and there are some that you really should not. Payroll tends to be one of those things. HR tends to be one of those things. There are so many things to do in running your business that this is just not one of the things. If this is not what you do on a day-to-day basis, this is one of the things you should outsource. So you want to look for a company that not only knows what they're doing in payroll and how to pay payroll taxes, but also knows what they're doing in cannabis. Payroll, the industry in general, is different from state to state. The laws are different in every state. Some are more complicated, some are much more simple and easy to maneuver, but it's different in every state. And when you add cannabis and the state-to-state regulations in cannabis to that equation, even if you've done payroll in the past for another one of your businesses or somebody else's business, this is a whole new thing. When we first got into this industry, there were a number of things we struggled to figure out the processes because it was all new to us. But we have to, as we branch into multiple states, we just have to figure out the legislation there, the rules for payroll in general, and then cannabis payroll specifically. And as I said, it's different state to state, so somebody has to pay very close attention to that. So find somebody to do this for you who knows the tax laws, who knows how to stay compliant, who has a good handle on HR, and who can handle the banking in your state. Just find somebody who knows what they're doing, again, not just in payroll, but in cannabis payroll. It's very important that you find somebody who is knowledgeable to do this for you. So one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they are hiring people is the difference between a W-2 employee and a 1099 contractor. It is a very common mistake to not want to pay payroll taxes. Nobody wants to pay payroll taxes. Nobody wants to have to file quarterlies. However, if the people who work for you should be designated as employees, then you need to have them be W-2 employees and withhold taxes and pay quarterly taxes. So how do you tell the difference? Because some people are legitimately contractors, and you are well within your rights to pay them that way. But if you call everybody a contractor across the board just because it's easier, I tell people all the time, in this industry, you are under a microscope. Do not give the IRS or your state government any extra ammunition to come after you. If you are paying everybody as a contractor all the time, that is a giant red flag. And you don't want to do that. Don't give them one more reason to come at you when you're doing everything else right. This is one of the things that'll make them dig. And once they start to dig, they will dig deeper and deeper until they find something. And it could be little things, but they will find something. And every something adds up to fines and late fees and interest and all sorts of things that you don't want to have to pay. So the IRS provides a checklist of what constitutes a W-2 employee versus a 1099 contractor. I'm not going to read through these one by one, but if anybody wants to have these slides afterwards, just let me know and contact me afterwards, and I will be happy to email them to you. Or if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So one of the things is instruction. Are you telling the people who work for you how to do the job? Not, and I always equate this to if you hire a landscaper. If you hire a landscaper, he comes in knowing how to do the job. He's got his equipment. He knows how to mulch or hardscape or reseed or whatever it is you're hiring him to do. Now, you may have to show him, do it here, I want this, but he already knows how to do those things. You don't need to teach him. So if you are instructing someone how to do the job, then they are probably an employee. If you have any system of evaluating them and not just at the end of it, hey, this is a great job or that's a terrible job. But if you're doing personnel reviews on any kind of a regular basis, in terms of performance or output or anything like that, then that's an employee. That's not a contractor. And the extent to which you're training them. Again, if you have periodic classes or any kind of refreshers, anything like that, those are employees. The financial control that you have over the people who work for you. Think again about our landscaper. He comes in, you decide on what he's going to do and how much he's going to charge you for that. And at the end of it, you pay him that amount. When you hire an employee, ideally, the idea is that this is going to be a very long-term relationship. In the perfect situation, that person could be with you for the rest of their business life. This is not, in most cases, a short-term arrangement. You want them to be with you for a while. You want them to grow with the company. You want them to be a valued employee. You want them to value your company and your business It's supposed to be an ongoing relationship. So if that is the intent, chances are good that that is a W-2 employee, because a 1099 contractor, in most cases, there's going to be a beginning, a period of time that you expect what they're doing for you to take, and then an ending. And that ending might be a week from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, but there's a foreseeable end in most cases. Are you paying them by the hour or by the job? Do you tell them when to show up? Do you provide the equipment which they will use to do this job? Pardon me. If you are providing them the equipment, if it's an hourly rate, those are employees. Are there written contracts? Are you providing benefits? Again, how long is this relationship supposed to go on? Is it short-term, long-term? All of these things play into if this is a contractor or if this is a W-2 employee. And again, it might seem like a small thing, but this can add up to thousands of dollars. The IRS walks in the door and says, I want to look at your books. Why are you paying these people as contractors and not withholding wages and then paying your payroll taxes? As soon as they walk in the door, if you have been doing this even for a matter of months, not to mention years, you are so far into, they are going to want all of the back taxes that you did not withhold for anybody who may not even work for you anymore. Late fees, penalties, interest, you're into thousands and thousands of dollars before they've even spent 15 minutes digging through your book. So this is, I can't overstate this. This is a really important thing to pay attention to. So in the effort to keep your workforce happy and compliant and your business humming along smoothly, there are some things that you really should take into account. I cannot overstate the importance of an actual timekeeping system. If you have more than, I'm going to say, 5 people working for you, and it doesn't even matter in what nature, if you are retail, if you are cultivation, it doesn't matter what it is that you're actually doing. If you have, I would say, more than 5 people, you really should have a good electronic timekeeping system. And I'm not talking about, obviously, a piece of paper on a clipboard by the front door is not a good system. When somebody unfortunately ends up being a disgruntled employee and files a complaint against you, that piece of paper that they filled out at the front door is not going to protect you, the employer. What you want is to be able to go into a piece of software that has actual in and out times recorded that can be verified that they were punched by those employees. Pull that up. Say you have one person who, you didn't pay me the right number of hours 6 months ago. A piece of paper, or the paper punch cards, the thing that, oddly enough, there are still lots of those in use. That's not really a good protection for you, the owner of the business. There are some states that are geared completely toward the employee, and you have very little, as the business owner, very little leg to stand on in this kind of situation. But the more you can document things electronically with a valid system, the better you are able to protect yourself if someone comes back to you later. One of the other good things about a good electronic timekeeping system is that it can help you save money, lots and lots of money. So you have somebody who comes in late, 5 minutes a day, maybe 10 minutes a day, or maybe they leave a little bit early. And over time, that adds up. If you have somebody who does that and they come in, they maybe call in, text a friend and say, can you please, punch my little card or sign my little sheet, and say I'm there. I've already been called, I've already gotten in trouble twice for being late, and 3 strikes I'm out. So can you please sign me in? If you have somebody who does that, even on a semi-regular basis, a couple times a week, you are literally at the end of a year spending thousands of dollars paying that person 10 minutes a day, 2-3 days a week, thousands of dollars for time that they're not even there. They're not working. You're not getting any kind of production out of them, but you're paying them because somebody else signed them in. That's referred to as buddy punching. And nobody, I don't care how much you threaten, I don't care how much you tell people they're going to get fired if they do it, nobody wants to be the person who someone calls them and says, hey, can you punch me in? No one wants to be the person who says, no, man, I can't do it. I'll get in trouble. Then that guy shows up and now they have to work with them. So people do it. It doesn't matter if you threaten them or not. People do it. Happens all the time. And that ends up costing you, again, a lot of money. So the best way to avoid that is to have a good electronic timekeeping system. I always recommend, and there's multiple options. There are biometric clocks that scan a fingerprint or an eye. There are mobile apps that will track on the phone or have a geofence so they can't clock in from elsewhere. It has to be within 100 feet of the building or the site, whatever. And those are good, reliable systems so that you can track these things and know that the people who are working for you are actually there when they say they're going to be there. There's also rounding errors. Say you are using the sheet by the front door. Nobody works from 8 to 5 on the nose every single day. Doesn't happen. It's a couple minutes before, a couple minutes after, a couple extra minutes for lunch. Nobody works exactly, but that's what everybody writes down. It's supposed to be here at 8, I write down on 8. It's supposed to leave at 4, I write down 4. It just doesn't work that way. And again, sometimes people forget, and then a couple days later, they sign the sheet. They're trying to rely on their memory, or a manager's trying to rely on their memory. A manager who's got 10 or 15 people coming and going, they don't know. They may keep an eye on it to a certain extent, but nobody's that good. So errors get made, even if they're unintentional errors. Errors get made, and it ends up, you as the business owner, it ends up costing you money. It also helps you, if you have a good timekeeping system, it helps you manage your overtime. It helps you reward the people who should be rewarded and the people who need a little encouragement or a little redirection. It helps you manage them also. So this is a good way to manage, and that's why timekeeping is referred to as workforce management, because it literally helps you manage your workforce, pardon me, manage your workforce, keep everybody on the same track, keep everybody focused without a lot of issues. It reduces the amount of drama and issues. And it's a good idea. It's a good thing to have, again, to protect you and to save the business money. Here are some pretty solid numbers that show you just very quickly how you can end up spending money or getting into problems just based on simple human error, covering for each other, the buddy punching. Sometimes it's just, and it saves complaints. You have people complaining about one thing or another, or complaining you didn't, like I said before, you didn't pay them the correct amount. Well, if you can go into software and pull up a time card that clearly shows you punched in at this certain time, either on a mobile app, and here's the GPS coordinates where you were, or on the face clock that, read your face and clocked you in so nobody else could do it for you. Yes, we paid you the correct amount. It keeps everybody focused and keeps your error rate down. As I said before, some states are enormously gauged towards the employees. California is one of those. I have more clients in California who come to me and say, one of my employees is suing us for something that sounds ridiculous to me, but they still have to defend themselves against it. Hiring lawyers, spending time in court, paperwork back and forth. If you have a good system in place, and again, $1.2 billion in back wages recovered by the Department of Labor in the last 5 years. It's staggering amounts of money. And a simple system that you put in place at the beginning can help avoid a ton of this. It can also help, timekeeping can also help with your job costing. We're all in cannabis, so I'm pretty sure we're all familiar with the 280E. There are certain things you can write off and certain things you can't. If you can job cost very simply, it's a really simple process with your timekeeping system, you can easily track every minute spent that goes into cost of goods sold. There's so little in this industry that you can write off on your taxes. I'm sure y'all already know that. You should get everything you can. If there are ways to track that, and there are, and give you a little more of a leg up, a little bit more assistance, then you should utilize that. So HR is a phrase that it's a giant area. It's a big umbrella term, and it refers to so many different things. Again, this is one of the places that a lot of people get into lawsuit issues, is HR. And it can be any number of things. HR can also be just electronically onboarding your employees, which simplifies everybody's process and you hire a new employee and have to gather all the paperwork, and where do you keep it? And it should be on file somewhere for a certain number of years. If you have an electronic system, it's so much simpler. You can have people just fill out all the forms, fill out their W-4, provide them with their employee handbook. They sign off that they received it. It's for them, it takes a little bit of time. Go through, fill out the forms, acknowledge what they need to acknowledge, sign what they need to sign. And for you, it's, as the business owner or a manager, it's so much easier. You send them an email that gets them started through the process, and they take over and do the rest. And it's a great idea to have something like this in line, especially because this industry, I've never seen businesses grow as quickly, no pun intended, as this industry. People go from 5 people to 50 people in the matter of months. You don't really see that in a restaurant or a garage, something like that. It just happens so quickly in this industry. People have hiring surges where they're hiring 10, 12, 15 people or more at a time. And having an electronic system in order can save you a lot of time and effort. Again, we get back to, what can happen if you don't have a good system in place. One of the best, and I'm talking best things you can do, is get yourself a good employee handbook. It's easy enough to do. It sounds daunting, and it can be, But if you have a simple system in place, there are places you can get help with this. I know for our company, we have a really inexpensive add-on module that just kind of walks you through it, basically does it for you. You should find something, because you need to set expectations for your employees from the beginning. What do you expect from them? And in turn, what can they expect back from you? This is the way our business operates. This is what we expect. This is the hours you will be working, all kinds of things. This is the job description for what you'll be doing. And this is what we expect from that. If you have all of that in order and you have everything in place, you provide that book, that handbook, and it could be, an employee handbook sounds kind of fancy, but it can be on paper, just a few sheets of paper. It can be in your electronic system. It doesn't have to be a big, long, drawn-out thing, but it should address the important things at the federal level and also specific things in your state, because that's another thing that varies widely from state to state. But if you have an employee handbook and it's a part of your onboarding process in whatever way you're doing onboarding, and you have the new employee sign off on that, it doesn't matter if they never read it. It doesn't matter at all. What matters is that you provided it to them. And as long as you did that, and you provided that book to them and those forms to them, and they acknowledged it, if they never read it and then come back to you and say, oh, but I didn't read it, I didn't know, that's not your problem. You provided it, they acknowledged it, you're covered. One of the other things that a lot of businesses start out with just a few people, and I always try to mention the Affordable Care Act. If you're a larger company, the Affordable Care Act kicks in at 50 employees. If you're a larger company, you might start out at that level. But even for a smaller company that starts out with 5 or 10 people, and people ask me, well, I don't really need to worry about that right now. Again, we get back to the fact that businesses in this industry grow faster than anything I've ever seen. You can hit 50 people before you know what's happening. And in that rapid growth process, there are a lot of compliance items that you can completely lose track of. It can be the next thing you know, you have 50 people, and there's all these other things. There are a lot of states now that are enacting 401k requirements. If you're in Oregon, and I think you have 5 people, you have to give them the option of opting into 401k. Same in California. Massachusetts has laws like this. Connecticut has laws like this. And it's not 50 or 100. It can be really small numbers. So you should have somebody who's on top of HR in some way, shape, or form to protect your business against the "but I didn't know" penalties. And ACA is one of those, the Affordable Care Act. You have to provide your employees, once you hit 50, you have to provide your employees with what is considered affordable health care. And what's affordable depends on a number of different things. And there's a calculation that has to be done based on what their cost will be, what the company's cost will be, what the coverage is. There's calculations that have to be done, and then the software will spit out whether your healthcare is considered affordable or not. If you ever get audited for that, and they find that you are either not affordable or not providing them with benefits at all. And again, none of this has anything to do with contractors. This is all about W-2 employees who work for you. This slide was actually created a couple years ago. I'm going to say 3 or 4 years ago. So I believe now this might be $2,500. I'm not sure, but it's at least $2,000 per person who works for you if your health care is not affordable. And then we get into all these other scary dollar amounts that nobody can afford this. Nobody wants to spend that kind of money, and if it can be avoided, you should absolutely do so. So that's all I have for you today. I think we're done a little bit early. So if anybody has any questions, you can drop them in the Q&A. If not, I will be at the roundtable, the Panacea roundtable in a little bit. And if you want to talk about anything, ask me any questions. Again, if anybody wants to have these slides, I'll be happy to email them to you. My email address is teresa@panaceapayroll.com. You can also check out our website, panaceapayroll.com. And again, thank you all for attending. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask.